Hands off Venezuela! Hands off Venezuela! Free President Maduro! La lucha sigue! Libertad, socialismo o muerte! Venceremos!
That was not Caracas, Venezuela. That was Portland, Oregon. Muy bueno socialista. Did they turn it into a chant? I like it better when they chant. When did so much of the country become mentally ill? Well, that's Portland, Oregon. They were going nuts in Seattle yesterday or day before yesterday as well because they're pro-Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro, pro-communist and anti-American and anti-capitalist because they were raised by Democrats, raised to be mentally ill. Isn't that amazing? We also found video. I can only present the audio portion on the radio. We found video of Democrats. Where were these Democrats? Oh, that's right. It was Washington, D.C. It was my city, my home. And Democrats, now this was a while back, they're very angry Democrats out in the street, and they were being pro-Hugo Chavez and pro-Nicolas Maduro and pro-communist, and they're half of them at least are too stupid to know what they're out there doing, and another half of them are being paid, and we got all that going on. But this is, what was the date on this video of these lunatics? And it was one of the good guys actually made the video, right? And because ABC News doesn't go out and cover the lunatics chanting about socialismo and comunista and destroying capitalism and housing and all this stuff. But the Democrat Party, the Democrat Party is very, very unwell. And we got these guys. I was just telling you about Sia Weaver. They're insane. Race, class, and gender in all things with the communists, and going through Sia Weaver's tweets from again, she shut down her Twitter account, her X account, because people might read it, and you don't want that. But she wrote in 2019 and posted on Twitter, August 21st of 2019, private property, including and kind of especially home ownership, is a weapon of white supremacy. I'm sorry, home ownership is a weapon of white supremacy. That's what she wrote. She continued, masquerading as wealth building. It's, yeah, sure. Yeah, you got your finger on the pulse, don't you? And in 2018, she tweeted, gentrification. She really hates gentrification. You don't want to improve the city. You want to let it rot and die on the vine. Gentrification is caused by rent-seeking developers, landlords, and policymakers that enable them. This part of a centuries-long process of white supremacy in the housing and land market. She's really got her finger on the pulse, doesn't she? She's quite something. Also in 2019, Sia Weaver, new person in charge in New York City of housing, she wrote, white nationalism is a disease and it's killing us. No, monkeypox is what you have there, and stop scratching because that'll just make it worse. You need antibiotics, I think, is just amazing. And she wrote, I'm super inspired by the DSA. The DSA, it's the Democratic Socialists of America. That's the Democrat Communist Party. And, they harvest the organs of over 1 million babies, unborn babies every year because they're not on our side. On January 4th of 2019, Democrat leader Sia Weaver tweeted, I wish I believed in God. I wish I believed in God. I've got some bad news for her at the end here. I wish I believed in God so I could believe that all men who take credit for women's work and all white men who take credit for the work of women of color would one day burn. One day burn. There's a burn. But you guys are self-immolating at a record rate, and I recommend that you step up that rate of self-immolation for the good of humankind. Just extraordinary. She wrote on Christmas Eve of 2016, she tweeted out, KKK are a violent Christian group. That's she's anti-Christian. She doesn't believe in God. And if she did, then something would be done about white men. They'd all burn because white men are taking credit for the work of women of color. Sure. Yeah. Give me one example of that, and just amazing stuff there. Yeah, KKK are a violent Christian group to keep us all safe on this busy travel day, Christmas Eve. White people in Christmas outfits, listen to this. She believes that Delta Airlines, she was probably flying Delta that day, Delta should kick all white people in Christmas outfits off planes. I think she's an angry, bitter, rancorous, demented, mentally ill, violently, criminally insane, anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-Western, racist, and she's white, self-loathing European Anglo-Caucasian, which the Democrat Party teaches. And I'm looking for Jonestown. I've been talking about this for quite a while, where a bunch of socialists from the Bay Area in California, San Francisco and Oakland, they were trying to practice their socialist utopia in the Bay Area, and it wasn't going very well. So they said, I know, let's move to Guyana in South America, and we'll live in the jungle, and we'll develop the perfect socialist environment. So they went down there, and then 900 of them murdered themselves and each other because, that's she also tweeted in 2018, impoverish the white middle class. Home ownership is racist. Also, home ownership is one word. It's one word. They're all tardos. They're tards. Impoverish as a verb. Impoverish white middle class, the white middle class. Home ownership is racist. That's what she wrote. And Mom Donnie selected her to be an important person in his administration in New York City. The Democrat Party is not what it used to be. It's kind of a canker sore on the American political body politic. Isn't that extraordinary? Man, oh man of Shevitz. Yes, sir. All right, let's take another phone call. Did you want me to go to another one right now? Because I'm sorry, I might have become distracted. The commies, they're everywhere. And all they do is kill and slave and steal. That's it. Well, they destroy also everything they, look what they did to Venezuela. Venezuela was the third most successful economy in the world in 1995. It was for years the most prosperous and economically active economy in all of Latin America. Everything south of San Diego down to Ushuaia in Tierra del Fuego. That's the area we're talking about. Venezuela was the most economically successful country south of San Diego. That's right. My best girl and I, we went to Ushuaia and Tierra del Fuego. Was that last year? Maybe it was 2 years ago. But let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Nick calling from Purcellville, Virginia. Nicholas, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Nick.
America's most interesting plant.
There are some pretty interesting plants out there, too, I've got to say.
Well, at least in America you are. I was thinking about other countries. I haven't been there, so I don't know. There might be more interesting ones there.
Yeah, in the Amazon, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris, New York's new mayor, Mandami, is that what his name? Mandani?
Yep.
Anyway, his inauguration was supposed to be like a block party. Hundreds showed up, and sat there for 2 hours in the freezing cold. There was no coffee, no donuts, no hot chocolate. You'd have to bring your own marshmallows because he doesn't want anything white there.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And, no porta potties. So people sat there for 2 hours listening to AOC and Nandabi talk about, rugged individualism, and you're there. Well, what could be more rugged sitting there for 2 hours at no porta potties? And then, it was just like communism. They promise you everything, and they deliver. They leave you sitting out in the cold with nowhere to go.
Until they steal all your stuff and kill you.
Well, that's next. Yes.
That comes later. Comes a little bit later.
But and Chris, this idea of voting to do some kind of strategic plan to take out Maduro. You can't vote on stuff like that, and they can't even get Congress to agree to like the Democrats to agree to not extending the subsidies on Obamacare. You know, they can't even agree to even voting on that, and
Right.
it's probably going to be stalled again. And they're going to vote on stuff like this? No way.
Right.
And tariffs?
Right. No, it's true. Well, and the Democrats just want to obstruct. They want President Trump to fail so desperately. They would be happy to see the country fail so that they could say, see, Trump didn't do what he said he'd do, and they sabotage you all the way. They firebomb you. They shot Donald Trump. They tried to shoot him a second time. They shot Steve Scalise. They shot Charlie Kirk. They're firebombing. One guy went to the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas in a Tesla truck or whatever that's called. Yeah, the cyber truck. And he blew himself up at the entrance of the Trump Hotel and killed himself in a Cybertruck. Cybertruck held up really well. Did you notice that? I think it was a good ad for the Cybertruck because the guts of the guy blown all over the inside, and none of it was splattered around the entrance at the Trump Hotel, which is nice. I thought that was a nice testimonial for the Cybertruck. Very nice. The Democrats.
And half of the country believes that we should charge Donald Trump with any kind of crime and call him a convicted felon and keep him from being president. And they're taking him, they wanted to take him out and put him in jail and prison, probably, have him, some of the things that they said about him and, the attempts on his life and everything. Come on. It's just the Democrats, they talk out of both sides of their mouths. And
that's not all.
I don't know. And when are we going to get rid of Schumer? Because he is just a detriment to this whole country. The guy is such a liar, and somebody needs to primary him out somehow. But I'm hoping that Donald Trump is going to get the communists out of New York, like he's trying to get them out of Venezuela. And that would be a very good thing, Chris.
Well, the Democrats are very, very angry that Nicolas Maduro was arrested, who was indicted in the Southern District of New York years ago, and Joe Biden didn't do anything about it, and Chuck Schumer yelled about Donald Trump not doing anything about Maduro. Maduro's still in power. You said you're going to take him out. And then Trump goes and takes out Maduro and brings him into custody because there are warrants out for his arrest. And he's outraged. How dare you arrest Maduro? The guy is, if he had a brain, again, it's like the clip from The Wizard of Oz there, what would you do with a brain if you had one? Just extraordinary and appalling. The Democrat Party is a filthy and appalling organization of anti-American radicals and extremists, and they're anti-capitalist, they're racist, they couldn't be more divisive. If their goal were to become more divisive, I'm not sure what they could do. Just extraordinary. Well, hey, Nick, you're paying attention, so that matters, that counts. Right? Man, oh, Manischewitz. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nicholas. And I didn't really get into this. I mentioned it earlier, but now it turns out that there's a crazy story out today because today is Ashley Babbitt Day. It's January 6th. And you remember there was a little dust-up on Capitol Hill 6 years ago now. 6 years ago? 5 years ago. 6 years ago? 5 years ago. And I should never do math in real time. I think 5 years ago. 5 years ago today that Ashley Babbitt was murdered by a Democrat police officer, Michael Byrd, right? And I found a headline today. It says Michael Byrd, who fired at unarmed Ashley Babbitt on January 6th. Now, listen to this. Fired at her? He fired at her, yeah, at point-blank range, and he hit her, and he killed her. I don't think the proper phrasing there is that the officer fired at her, Michael Byrd. But it turns out he has an unaccredited, taxpayer-funded daycare center, which is his own home, run by his wife in Maryland. Isn't that amazing? The state of Maryland has received $190 million in HHS taxpayer-funded money, daycare funds. Maryland got $190 million. Not clear how much Michael Byrd, but Michael Byrd, the police officer that murdered Ashley Babbitt because he's a racist, he's running a daycare center now and collecting public money for the daycare, the Byrd Family Daycare Center. Isn't that amazing? In Brandywine, Maryland. Are there any kids there? Nobody knows. Man, oh, man. And you know who runs it? His wife. His wife runs it. Just extraordinary. Apparently, owning a daycare is big business in Maryland, where Kaleska Byrd runs one out of their $600,000, 3,500 square foot house. Her husband, Michael Byrd, the infamous former U.S. Capitol Police officer, for murdering Ashley Babbitt in the Capitol building on January 6th of 2021, 5 years ago, math, the time the government refused to identify him, remember that, and they stashed him and his dog. Remember, he left his gun in the men's room on Capitol Hill one day, and he's dead. I'm surprised they're not running him for Congress, the Democrats. He shot and killed that woman, and he and his wife collecting money from the state for running an unaccredited child care operation out of their house, collecting public money. Maybe he'll end up in a penitentiary, maybe Supermax in the bowels of hell. Just amazing. And did you see what Elon Musk said about this? Said, forget about Minnesota. It's much worse, the theft of public money, billions and billions of dollars, and every filthy one of them is a Democrat. If we find one that's a Republican, we'll give him twice the number of years in prison for you. Yes. All right, let us return to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Mike, calling from Gainesville, Virginia. Michael, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris Plant. Thanks for taking my call.
You betcha, Mike.
It's not just Michael Byrd Day. It's actually Ashley Babbitt Day and Shawnee Kirkhoff Day. Today is the day she gets away scot-free with shooting people in the head with non-lethal rubber bullets.
Ah, wow. It's a big day. It's anniversaries all over the place. Yeah, it is Ashley Babbitt Day. And it's a mad world, isn't it, Mike?
It sure is. There's a Somalian daycare center thing was revealed 13 years ago by a guy named Steve Halicki up in Ramsey County, Minnesota. He was an investigator for the Department of Human Services, and he found all this fraud in the daycare centers up there 13 years ago, and he went to his supervisor at the Human Resources Department and was told basically you need to drop this right away. So he went to a whistleblower status and went on the local news and basically revealed that he was going to sacrifice his career as an auditor inspector and revealed it. And somehow this all got tamped down until this Nick Shirley kid somehow became famous, revealing the same thing he revealed 13 years ago.
Well, I got to say, I was unaware of the 13 years ago thing. I know there are a couple of reporters in Minneapolis who are pulling their hair out saying, I reported this 6 months ago. I reported this a year ago. And everybody ignored it. Oh, and the Democrat Attorney General, who is a total communist, former House member, and a racist. There's Keith Ellison. And he knew about it, and he tamped it down because he's a criminal. And audio has emerged of him. The Democrat Party is not on our side. They wage war against America. But they will hop in any sleeping bag with any Latin American criminal, from Kilmore Abrego Garcia to the list goes on and on. Wife beating, baby mama beating, human trafficking, illegal alien gang member, and hero of the Democrat Party. Now, they've got Nicolas Maduro in a jail in New York, the former fake president of Venezuela. And he's in there with Luigi Mangione, who shot and killed a health insurance company CEO, husband and father of two. And the Democrats applauded and made a hero of him. They want to scrub his abs. I think they want to scrub his abs with their mouths. They're a strange bunch. They certainly are. Man, oh, man. Yes. Now, the Democrats are very angry. You can't arrest a foreign leader. He's a president of a country. No, he stole the presidency of a country. And the Democrats are with that. No, what are they? They're drug traffickers, human traffickers, child sex traffickers, and one of the biggest drug operations on the planet coming out of Venezuela. And their neighbors, Colombia and Peru, providing tons and tons, literally, of cocaine to the world and all that. And the Democrats are like, hey, it's just cocaine. Another thing, in addition, in New York, to Mamdani saying they're going to allow homeless encampments to spring up all over the city. They also say they're going to allow open air public drug use, like, shooting up in your arm, sitting on the sidewalk in front of the Walgreens or whatever. And the Democrats are in favor of that because they're making everything better. They're liberal, don't you know? And they say you can't arrest him legally. And they've got Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jihadi, anti-Semite, Jeffries, the Democrat leaders in the Senate and in the House. And the Speaker of the House came out yesterday. He's a Republican, Mike Johnson. And the reporters are doing the Democrat Party's bidding for them, of course, with the Republican Speaker of the House. So what are you doing arresting foreign leaders like, he's just a drug trafficker and sending the Tren de Aragua gang members to the United States by the thousands and emptying the prisons and so on. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson yesterday.
An arrest warrant was duly issued, and now he has learned what accountability looks like. Under President Trump, the United States will no longer allow criminal regimes to profit from wreaking havoc and destruction on our country. He's putting Americans first and succeeding where others have failed.
Again, we're expecting, I think, nearly 80,000 fatal drug overdoses in the United States. That 80,000 funerals, 80,000 dead people in the United States, America, and from drugs alone. And a lot of it is fentanyl, and a lot of it is heroin, and a lot of it is whatever other things that, monkeypox that they're spreading around. But cocaine is kind of big. And it's not just doing the overdoses, too, when it comes to tons of cocaine, because, that Scarface thing is very real. It's about the money for the gangsters and the smugglers and so on. And they shoot the place up everywhere they go because, lots and lots of money involved, and these gangsters get into the cocaine business. It's not like their choice was to go to medical school or get into the cocaine business. This is gangsterism, and the violent crime on the streets of American cities very, very frequently has a lot to do with the money involved in the drug industry, the drug trade, the drug business, and and everybody gets shot too. Now, these guys down in Anacostia didn't die of fatal drug overdoses. They were shot to death over the drug money. And that's a huge issue in this country, and the Democrats and our news media, ignorant gang of expletives deleted that they are. But Mike Johnson, hey, listen, he had been indicted years ago by the Southern District of New York, and the Biden administration sat on it for 4 years and did nothing because they're pro-drugs and pro-dead Americans, because they're not on our side. The Attorney General of the United States is Pam Bondi. She came out yesterday and was asked about this, too. Well, where does he get the authority to arrest a foreign whatever he is? He's not the president of the country. He didn't win the election. He stole the election, so it's just another crime that he committed. And the Democrats see that, and they're like, well, we would do that. We'd do that in a heartbeat. How did Joe Biden get millions and millions more votes than Hillary Clinton got? They ran her as a woman, and she was running against Donald Trump also. And Joe Biden, got millions and millions more votes than Barack Obama got from all the racist Democrats who didn't show up to vote for him because he's African-American, he's half black. They wouldn't vote for him because of that, I guess. But then Joe Biden, crusty old dunderhead, and like, oh, millions. Oh, I'm going out to vote for him, not for Hillary, not for Barack, but for Joe Biden. I'm the extra effort for me. And, they're going around. We have that thing on ballot harvesting in Minnesota, too, don't we? But let's go, because Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, yesterday was asked about the arrest of Nicolas Maduro.
This was well within the president's Article 2 powers. It was a law enforcement function to arrest indicted individuals in Venezuela. Our military pulled off a flawless execution of that. It was amazing.
It was amazing. And so you get an indictment, and then you get a warrant, and then you execute the warrant. And then the Democrats say, well, we had those idiots in Washington, D.C. on the street, right, who were screaming about this. And he's the duly elected president of – no, he's not. He stole the election there. But when you're a Democrat, that's okay, because that's no problem. Now, you have that one whipped out? March of 2019, right here in Washington, D.C., and the Democrats were out in the street chanting and rallying and doing the idiotic things that they do in support of the socialists who stole the election, wasn't elected, and the country was stolen by Hugo Chavez who then thankfully died, and his daughter, Hugo Chavez's daughter, apparently still the wealthiest person in all of Venezuela, worth more than $4 billion. But here's the 2019 Washington, D.C. Democrats in the street.
Would you trade Trump for Maduro?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I think I think Maduro was democratically elected.
Probably.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Probably.
Sure.
More than likely, yes, of course.
If there's a Nicolas Maduro out here who's going to bring us to revolution, I will support that movement.
I would rather have a bus driver in charge than a billionaire, okay? Let's put it that way.
Nicolas Maduro could come and be our president?
Yeah.
Oh, any day. Any day. Look, all the check marks are there. He's not white.
Not white.
Okay, he's a minority.
He's a minority.
Okay. He looks a little too much like Saddam Hussein, though.
He does. He does look a lot like Saddam Hussein. That's true. But oh hell yeah, these communist dogs, that anti-American, anti-capitalist, racist, and that racist at the end was a white guy. He's a white. He's not a black guy. He's not a Latinx. He's a white guy. Yeah. Well, he checks all the boxes. He's not white. Really, honestly, we're gonna start a movement to pull all the white stuff from, everything. Like no more electricity, no more running water, no more cellular telephones, no more airplanes, no more jet engines, no more combustion engines, no more medical care, no more instantaneous global communications. You are back in the Stone Age. And what's the old line? You mentioned it earlier today. In fact, Michael, what did the Democrats? It's like a little joke. It's sort of a joke. What do the Democrats use to light their homes before candles? What do the Democrats use to light their homes before candles? The answer is electricity. Electricity. See, because they're dragging us back to the Stone Age. They're talking about North Korea with the blackouts and Cuba with the blackouts. They blame the United States for the blackouts in Cuba. And Cuba ought to really be eating it soon because they get all their energy from Venezuela, and that may not be the case for long. Now, speaking of Venezuela, this is kind of a a big thing. Maria Corina Machado. Maria Corina Machado. Yeah, that's her name. She's the Nobel Prize laureate from Venezuela. Right? They gave her the Nobel Peace Prize because they didn't want to give it to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's going around stopping wars, and Maria Corina Machado is she's a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and she was on the television last night talking to Sean Hannity on Fox News, and she seemed perfectly pleasant and likable and maybe not perfect, but President Trump has been the vice president. Nicolas Maduro's vice president has taken over the country and taken the oath of office and all that stuff. And people have been screaming, and President Trump said, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. And they're angry that Trump didn't say, let's pick Maria Corina Machado to be the interim leader or to come in as the new leader. And it turns out this is a lot more complicated than perhaps we had originally thought. But here's Maria Corina Machado last night on with Sean Hannity talking about, the raid on Venezuela where their fake president, their non-president who stole the election, was grabbed by Delta Force, which is too cool. And Maria Corina Machado, Venezuelan, maybe a future president of Venezuela, maybe not. But President Trump said, I don't know, maybe she's not ready to govern. Maybe she's not really up to speed and doesn't have the support inside Venezuela.
January 3rd will go down in history as the day justice defeated a tyranny. It's a milestone, and it's not only huge for the Venezuelan people and our future, I think it's a huge step for humanity, for freedom and human dignity.
Oh, that's wow! How about that? She really does like the pretty amazing. Now, the New York Times has a big story today that I'll get to the essence of the elements of in just a moment here. But Maria Corina Machado on Hannity, that's a big thing. That grabbing Nicolas Maduro will go down in history, a day of justice. And it's true, he's a criminal. He stole the country. He stole the election. He's a commie. They call themselves socialists. The USSR called themselves socialists. They murdered tens of millions. They started wars all over the world. Isn't that amazing? And she lives in exile now for fear of being murdered by the Maduro regime. What's she going to do about that now that Maduro is gone?
I'm planning to go back to Venezuela as soon as possible. As I've always said, Sean, every day I make a decision where I am more useful for a cause. That's why I stayed in hiding for over 16 months, and that's why I decided to go out, because I believed that at this moment I'm more useful to our cause, being able to speak out from where I am right now.
Now, she again said, well, what about the Nobel Peace Prize? And she's an interesting one. It's an interesting circumstance. It's a mess because commies took over, calling themselves socialists. But Maria Corina Machado was asked last night by Sean Hannity, said, well, you won the Nobel Peace Prize, and you had actually talked about turning it over to President Trump because you thought President Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize more than you deserved the Nobel Peace Prize, even though the Nobel Peace Prize Committee decided you deserved the Nobel Peace Prize more than Donald Trump, even though you haven't stopped any wars or saved anybody or done anything.
Let me be very clear. As soon as I learned that we had been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, I dedicated to President Trump because I believed at that point that he deserved it. And a lot of people, most people said it was impossible to achieve what he has just done on Saturday, January 3rd. So if I believed he deserved it on October, imagine now. I think he has proven to the world what he means.
Isn't that amazing? And Sean Hannity said, well, wait a minute here, Maria Corina Machado. Are you saying you want to still, to this day, give your Nobel Peace Prize to President Trump?
Well, it hasn't happened yet, but I certainly would love to be able to personally tell him that we believe the Venezuelan people, because this is a prize of the Venezuelan people, certainly want to give it to him and share it with him. What he has done, as I said, is historic. It's a huge step towards a democratic transition.
It's a really big step. It's the biggest step. The New York Times reporting today, and Ryan Saavedra reposting the key elements on X, on Twitter. Ryan Saavedra writes of the New York Times story, interesting details via the New York Times on why the Trump administration decided not to back Maria Corina Machado as Nicolas Maduro's replacement, and it has nothing to do with her winning the Nobel Peace Prize. The New York Times reports Trump was persuaded by arguments from senior officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said that if the United States tried to back the opposition, it could further destabilize the country and require a more robust military presence inside the country. A classified CIA intelligence analysis reflected that view. The New York Times says senior U.S. officials had grown frustrated with her assessments of Maduro's strength, feeling that she provided inaccurate reports. They also grew skeptical of her ability to seize power in Venezuela. Rick Grenell, Trump's envoy and the head of the Kennedy Center, right? In that everybody's got more than one job in this administration. Rick Grenell, Trump's envoy, met with Machado's representatives and asked them to arrange an in-person meeting with Machado in Caracas and for a list of political prisoners they wanted liberated, but the in-person meeting never happened. Machado, despite promises from the American delegation that she would be protected, refused to meet with Rick Grenell. What's up with that? Over time, the relationship deteriorated, according to people briefed on the interventions, and Machado and her team ignored the request for a list of political prisoners, and it goes on and on. Machado was upset that Rick Grenell did not forcefully denounce Maduro as illegitimate. Grenell told colleagues that such a statement, while true, would have undercut his diplomatic outreach. So don't interfere with this. And they tick off a long list of offenses where she's not working and playing well with others. She's not communicating. She doesn't have a power base. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, offline, smart on this issue. And it turns out there are a whole bunch of power bases, the military, the police, the banking gangsters, And if you said, we want Machado to be the incoming president, all these power cells in this commie hellhole would gang up on her and destroy her, and she could never win or she could never govern, and she'd be in danger. So the reason the Trump administration backed off is because you got to let it breathe for a while. And in the meantime, these other power groups may be going after each other. But let that simmer for a while before suggesting that she walk to center stage. So once again, it looks like it's the long play and the smart play.
I think Maduro was democratically elected.
Probably, yeah.
The Politico. The left-wingers at Politico have a big story today. The headline is, Trump has a list of demands for Venezuela's new leader. She was the fake vice president in the stolen election. And the Democrats just want civil war in the United States and war all over Latin America. They're with the bad guys. But here is the Politico reporting on President Trump's list of demands for Venezuela's new leader. 1, cracking down on drug flows. Hey, that's a good idea. 2, kicking out Iranian, Cuban, and other operatives of countries or networks hostile to the United States of America, since they're running Hezbollah and Hamas operations out of there and stuff. 3, stopping the sale of oil to U.S. adversaries. Now, China buys about 70% of the Venezuelan oil. We buy about 19%, I think. And number 4, eventually facilitate free elections and step aside. And that, of course, is where Machado comes in, if she's going to be in the game. That's where she comes in. But the woman that has taken over temporarily as interim fake president of Venezuela, she's not there to stay. That's a temporary stopgap thing. And when you get the CIA and the NSA and the NSC to explain the political complexities in Caracas right now, it's time to hit pause.